Story of the People's Revolutionary Government of Grenada and why America invaded. Story of the People's Revolutionary Government of Grenada. The U.S. invasion of Grenada happened in 1983 between October 25 to 28. The invasion ended with American victory and overthrow of the new dual leadership. In total 112 people died with hundreds more wounded out of a total of 9,477 total troops in the conflict. The conflict was between the American Army versus mainly the Grenadian Army with support of Cuban, many construction workers that were already in Grenada, Soviet, North Korean, East German and Libyan troops as well as Cuban and Soviet weapons. Along with the armies involved, civilians also died with a total of 24 civilian casualties. On November 19, 1973, an event in Grenada called Bloody Monday took place. Members of the Marxist New Dual movement were taken into custody and beaten. Once independence was announced and it was decided that the current premier of Grenada, Eric Gairy, was going to become the prime minister, the New Dual movement held a protest. They had rocks thrown at them by Gairy supporters, had tear gas shot at them by the police, and the leader of the New Dual movement, Maurice Bishop's father, was shot and killed. After this event, Bishop stated that they needed to move to more revolutionary tactics. On February 7, 1974, Grenada got its independence. At this time, Maurice Bishop was imprisoned, but soon released on bail, where he then left the country for a while. After independence, a multi-party system was formed. In 1976, Maurice Bishop was elected to be the leader of the opposition in Parliament for the New Dual movement. Tensions rose among the Marxist New Dual Party and the ruling right-wing conservative Grenada United Labour Party, I know deceiving name, because of violent oppression used by the ruling party as well as suspicion of fraudulent elections. The revolution took place when the leader at the time, Eric Gairy, was out of the country. Military barracks, police stations, government offices and radio stations were taken control of by the New Dual movement. The New Dual movement saw itself as a vanguard party because of its extreme illiteracy and uneducation in the country at the time. After the revolution, Grenada was turned into a one-party system. They then refused to meet with Ronald Reagan and receive U.S. aid. Instead, they sided with Cuba and had Cuban workers come to help build an airport as well as other projects. Many of these workers fought against America in the invasion. During the short rule of the New Dual Party, one of the main concerns they focused on was women's rights. Sex discrimination was made illegal at this time. Under the New Dual, many organizations for representation in policy making were created, such as the National Women's Organization as well as other organizations for education and healthcare. It's important to note that during this time the New Dual movement believed that a liberal democratic system was unnecessary and easily manipulatable by foreign powers, so they decided to go with the system of representative organizations that I explained above. The New Dual movement gained popularity with 74% of people believing that they had done a very good job because of successes like the drop in illiteracy from 35% to 5%, the drop in unemployment from 50% to 14%, the number of doctors increased by 1/3. Infant mortality nearly halved, and the bottom 30% of people did not have to pay taxes. At that time, the New Dual movement thought they could bring more success with a tourism industry that would be brought by the completion of an airport. A very important moment to note is that during his time in office, Bishop thought that his revolution was very scary to the American government because of the fact that the people of Grenada were mainly black and they could speak English, meaning that his revolution could set an example to the black to stand up and commit a communist revolution. On October 14, a militarized faction within the party called for Maurice Bishop to step down or either go into a dual leadership with the Deputy Prime Minister Bernard Cord. When Bishop refused, he was arrested. This led to massive protests across the island. Some estimates put the number of protesters as high as 30,000 out of a population of 100,000 at the time. Bishop was released on October 19, but recaptured and executed by firing squad on that same day. On that very same day, a general by the name Hudson Austin took power in a coup and created a 4-day curfew because of the situation where the punishment for disobeying was the death penalty. I do not think this is what Lenin meant by, "There are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks when decades happen." The Governor-General of Grenada, Paul Schoon, and the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States called for America to intervene. America intervened because of concerns of the safety of American medical students and fears that it could turn into a hostage situation according to the Reagan administration. After the invasion, Grenada was occupied until December and the former constitution was reintroduced. Recently, Maurice Bishop's execution day was turned into a holiday in Grenada in 2022. This holiday is called Maurice Bishop Day to honor his life and achievements. Why did America invade? There were multiple theories to why Grenada was invaded, already stated in this essay. According to some authors, it is as simple as Grenada being incompetent, like Lukács. From the side of the Reagan administration, the cause was to come in for the safety of the students and to restore democracy in the country. From the Grenadian side, it was because Grenada was an ideological threat to America. The claim from the Reagan administration about restoring democracy does not make much sense as one. Grenada had a democratic system, just not a liberal democratic system, and they had an approval rating much higher than America did at the time with that system, and 2. America has supported undemocratic violent regimes throughout the 20th century. As an example, they are currently supporting one of the only absolute monarchies, Saudi Arabia, in a, often described as genocidal, international war with weapons and drone strikes. America's claim that the invasion was to stop a hostage situation or just to protect their citizens in the county draws parallels to the Iran hostage crisis. There is little evidence that this was the case, as the many of the Americans in Grenada stated to the news that they were safe before the invasion happened, and even if that were not the case, from how the Iran hostage situation played out, it is unlikely that America would think an invasion would bring less harm. Grenada's claim of America invading for ideology makes more sense, as Cuba, who also had a revolution close to America, has suffered much through an invasion as soon as they existed and had one of the most restrictive embargoes put on it for the last 60 years. Many people have suggested that this was because America did not want a communist state to succeed so close to its borders, with so much culture being shared with the people of America. It would make sense that a similar thing would happen to Grenada, and that America, seeing an opportunity of a small country in turmoil, took the chance to destroy a small country in the Cold War battle of ideology. I think that Grenada's reasoning for this invasion is most likely the correct one. It would only make sense as America wanted to go with the invasion route at the start of the Cold War, but had to slow down because of defeats from countries much more capable than Grenada at defending themselves, like Cuba, Vietnam and Korea.